Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 143 of Brew Talk with Mr. Beer. My name is Robert. I will be your host once again for today's show. As always, we appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in, watch our weekly videos. Hopefully you're enjoying them. If you ever want to reference our videos in a written form, just find those on our blog page, mrbeer.com/blog, or just go to mrbeer.com, click on the little blog button there. So today's topic is it's a revisit of one of our very early on videos that we wanted to kind of redo and redo up a little bit. So today's topic is, how is Mr. Beer's hopped malt extract made? So I'm going to reference my notes a lot for this video, so just bear with me here as I'm reading and talking to you. The process of making malt extract is the same as brewing with all grains. As a customer, you're getting the same exact thing that you would normally get from brewing all grains, but with saving 6 hours of time in the traditional brewing process. So before we talk about how hopped malt extract is made, I want to talk to you a little about where it is made at, or where ours is made at, I should say. So we were owned by Cooper's Brewery. Most people know, but I got a lot of new customers. They might not know that. Cooper's Brewery is the world's largest provider of malt extract for home brewing. They've been in the home brewing business since 1977, so they've been doing this for quite a long time. They started doing canning hopped malt extract in 1984, so they got a long history of experience with this. They oversee the entire production process, from the malting of the grains to putting the malt in the can. The process is fully automated to ensure that you're getting the freshest, best quality that you possibly can. In 2017, they opened up their own malting plant. So this allows them to malt their own grains that they're, sourcing directly from the grain growers. It's been rated by some people in the brewing industry as one of the most state-of-the-art malting facilities that are out there in the world. And this allows Cooper's, greater control over the entire process, starting with the actual raw grain itself. All right, so let's dive into exactly how hopped malt extract is made. So the first step of making hopped malt extract is the malting of grains, which is a 3-stage process. Stage 1 is steeping. This is where they're going to take the raw barley, is transferred into the steeping house, and is submerged in water. The steeping process is over when the barley reaches a moisture level that will let the starches and proteins break down at the same rate. So they kind of makes it break down at the same rate. Stage 2 is germination. So this is where the steep barley is transferred over to the germination vessels. Again, everything's automatic, computerized, all that stuff. This is where the barley begins the process that would normally be sprouting. So it's going to sprout like you would normally grow a grain. The proteins and carbohydrates of the grain begin to break down and cause the grain husk to open. The process is controlled by temperature, and moisture is kind of pumped in from the bed of the grain up. And the grain is constantly being churned in this process as well. So it's got some moisture coming up from the bottom, and it's got this big rake thing that circles it, kind of turns it up. They got some cool videos on their website if you guys ever want to check it out. Stage 3 is kilning. And this is basically when they want to stop the germination process of the grain. If they let it keep going, it's going to grow a grain stalk, which you don't want. Depending on the type of malt that is being made, the kilning time and temperature can vary. So from light malts to dark malts. Here the goal is to take the majority of the moisture out of the grain. It's usually done in a 3-stage process at different temperatures at different times. This is important because it helps ensure the enzymes remain intact to be used in mashing. So at this point, they've stopped it from germinating. They're working on drying the grain out and to make sure that it's ready to be prepared into beer. Basically in this process, it's similar to the moisture coming from the bottom. It's hot air coming from the bottom, and it rises through the grain bed, and then heat exchangers kind of help recirculate the air throughout the entire process. So now we have malted grain. So this is usually what you would buy if you're brewing all grain, or even with our grains. Like ours are malted grains. If you're buying grains from your local homebrew shop, that's all malted grains as well. So that's kind of the process that we're at to now. So that's what you buy from us. Now when you're getting ready to brew a batch, the grain is transferred from the malt storage silos and transferred through a mill to break up the grain, and then it's transferred into the Mashtun, which is filled with heated water. The heated water will help the enzymes convert the starches into fermentable sugars, depending on the makeup of the grain bill that is being used. So basically what style of beer you're using. Obviously, if you're brewing like a stout or a porter, you're going to have a darker grain bill. If you're brewing a lager or something like that, it's going to be a much lighter grain bill. That will determine, what kind of beer you said, and it'll also determine Oh, no, it won't determine anything else. Just determines the type of beer. So, like I said, that's that. The mash will maintain a temp of about 148 to 154 degrees Fahrenheit. And this process can take a couple hours to complete. Once mashing is complete, you got a big mess of liquid. It is sent through, because you got like a mess of liquids. You got a bunch of hot water and then a bunch of spent grain. So it's like oatmeal, very mashy. The mashing is sent through a filter that removes all the spent grains. Now all you're getting is liquid left over. And now basically what you have is you have your wort. If you've brewed any of like our advanced recipes or partial mash recipes, this is the stage before you do any hopping, and you have your wort right there. So now you have the wort is transferred to the brew kettle. This is where all the hop additions are going to take place. This is where, depending on how bitter you want your beer, all that stuff, the hop boils, all that jazz. If you brew any of our recipes, you know exactly how this works. Once this process is complete and all the hops have been added and boiled for the proper amount of time, the mixture is transferred to a whirlpool that will help any hop material settle out of the wort, so you're just getting just the fine liquid. So far, all the steps I've described are the same exact steps that you are brewing from all grain and that breweries use in the process. And basically when we get to this step, coopers, what they'll do is they will split off some of the wort, and some will go to fermenters to turn into actual beer that they produce and sell. The other part will go to an evaporator, which will create the hop malt extract. So Coopers uses a centrifugal evaporator that removes the water without the use of any additional heat. This is key because it keeps the integrity of the flavors and the hop aroma and flavors as well. Adding heat to that can really degrade that kind of final product that you're getting there. So during this process, about 80% of the moisture is removed, and you're left with a syrup-like substance that you get in your HME cans. And finally, from there, the hop malt extract is transferred directly to an automatic canning line, which is canned and ready to go. So that about sums it up. That was a lot. Like I said, if you want to reference it, you can read it on our website, Mr.Beer.com. But yeah, I mean, Coopers oversees the entire production from start to finish. It's highly automated. I think it produces, you know, what's well known in the industry is probably the best quality malt extract you can get. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about this process, I mean, you know, give our customer service team a ring. They can definitely explain some things or answer some questions for you. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms. We're at Mr. Beer on Facebook, Instagram, and the YouTube. And if you want to learn more about Mr. Beer, hang out with fellow Mr. Beer brewers, join our Facebook group, Mr. Beer's Brewing Society. You can find that by just searching Mr. Beer's Brewing Society on Facebook. That's going to wrap over this week, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Cheers. Cheers.